So, welcome to episode 7, once again from Shay B. This week I've been pondering the concept of gratitude. Whilst this might not seem directly to be craft related, it kind of is. And also I'm looking at how mental health affects our ability to craft and why some things languish in our work in progress piles. Back in my first podcast, I looked at the benefits of mental health for crafting. So this time I want to spin that around and look at things about how our mental health affects our ability to craft. Back in 1999, I suffered really bad from exhaustion. I basically tried to burn the candle at both ends for about 6 months, and strange enough, one day I couldn't get out of bed. My wonderful doctor at the time said that our mental health is a bit like having a bank account. Every time we have a good day, we bank a little into our savings account. So when we have a bad day, we just don't have the energy and mental ability to do our day-to-day. And there's nothing in our day-to-day account. To get through it, we withdraw from our savings account just to get by. The trouble starts when we have nothing in our day-to-day account and we've emptied out our savings. From that day in 1999 until almost exactly 2 years later, I didn't touch a single bobbin or make a piece of lace. This is why when people ask how long I've been making lace, I'm always fuzzy with a number, such as it's over 30 years. Because in my head I'm taking 2 years off the total to account for when I couldn't do anything. We talk a lot about losing the crafting mojos. Oh, such and such isn't knitting at the moment, they've lost their knitting mojo. So-and-so isn't coming to craft club, they've lost their crafting mojo. Sometimes just getting 2 needles and some yarn out of a bag is too mentally exhausting for me. I can hear my mum on those occasions trying to get me to go to an event with my friends as a kid. Once you get there, you'll enjoy it, she'd say. Thing was, I often didn't enjoy it when I got there. Now come on, Elizabeth, get your knitting out, it'll make you feel better. And it probably will. That is, unless I make a mistake because I'm so tired and I can't concentrate, and then I'll feel worse. A few weeks ago, I decided to cast on a very simple shawl. I like shawls that take around 400 metres of 4-ply yarn, as that's how much comes in an artisan skein. Over the years, I've taken to treating myself to a skein at each event I've attended and making a shawl from those skeins, to remind me of the good times I've had at the events. I also love to wrap a shawl around me on those clear, early mornings when I go shopping, so all in all, it's just a win all round. So this simple shawl that I was casting on, I'm on cast on version 15. Yep, I've frogged it back 14 times so far. Now normally I'd say this is a pattern issue, but I know that so many people have made this particular shawl, so in this case, it's a me problem. In the end, I've had to put it away for a few weeks because as I restarted each time, I was becoming more and more worried that I was going to mess up, which caused me to be distracted and making it even more likely that I would then mess it up. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Crafting has been linked to increased feelings of happiness and improved mood. The process of creating something can release dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. A study published in the journal Positive Psychology in 2016 found out that engaging in creative activities, including crafting, was positively associated with positive effect and subject well-being. So it's easy to see why when you have problems with making something, it can have the opposite effect on your happiness and mood. Frustration can start to build up and end in feelings of worthlessness. In NLP, there's a technique called anchoring. Anchoring refers to a phenomenon where a subject you produce a specific stimulus or piece of information becomes associated with a particular thought, emotion, or state of mind. The term is derived from the idea that a stimulus acts as an anchor, keeping the associated mental state or response in place. A simple explanation of this is how we smile when the sun comes out. We associate the light and warmth of the sun with the good feelings, so when we feel the warmth, we smile. Now, anchoring good feelings to certain things and activities is a great idea. If you associate feeling good with picking up your embroidery, then when you feel down, just getting it out can make you feel better. But if you have repeated bad experiences, then you can anchor bad feelings to a particular activity or project. This is why some projects languish in your work in progress or WIP pile for years. That period of 2 years when I made no lace, I couldn't even get my bobbins out to look at them because they reminded me that I wasn't able to make lace. Instead, I found an activity that gave me pleasure but a lower level involvement. I bought myself a season ticket to RHS Wisley and would go there and walk around reading the plant labels and learning them. I spent 2 years learning about roses. Memory is also often affected by mental health. Just trying to retain the names of these roses was a monumental task, but each rose name and description that I poured into my memory was a success for me. I started to associate seeing the rose blooms with joy. Even now, just looking at the roses growing in our courtyard make me smile. When a few years later I went with hubby to David Austin Roses, he was taken back by the fact I could identify nearly all the rose names without looking at the labels. For me, I started to get my lace mojo back when I found a local group that I could join. I explained I was in a slump and wasn't able to be in a place to make lace, but wanted to be around other lace makers. They welcomed me without judgment, and just sitting with people who were loving making lace helped me to reconnect with the craft. A study done in 2016 into the role of creativity in artistic, cultural and social activities shows a clear link between the social interaction of crafting and mental well-being. Joining crafting clubs and workshops allow us to connect with like-minded people, which reduces feelings of loneliness and social isolation. What is also important is it recognises that this doesn't have to be in person. Online communities can offer this connection just as well as face-to-face groups. So where does gratitude come into this? Well, this year, I decided I want to do something different when it came to showing appreciation. Most of the time, we tend to look and either thank someone as a matter of course or because they did something major. Well, I wanted to thank people for doing small things that made my life better. You show me a small kindness when I was feeling down, I'm going to say thank you for doing that for me. It might have been something small to you, but at this time it made a difference to me. You were just doing your job when you supplied me that information, when you said you would. Thank you for sending that to me when you said you would. I really appreciate that you got it to me then, as I was able to turn it around and meet my deadline. You always take the stress out of the projects we work on. Yesterday, I saw that this was actually coming to fruition. A couple of weeks ago, I turned around and thanked my boss because she's always willing to give clarification when I ask for it. In a world where we're rushed and sometimes directions are hurried, being willing to hop on a call for 5 minutes to confirm something rather than spend 20 minutes messaging or emailing is a kindness. As I said at the end of that call, thank you for that. I always feel so much better when I've spoken to you because we can talk about things like adults. This might not seem like a big thing, but to me it is. I've worked with very senior managers who think it's acceptable to scream and shout at you. I had one manager that over a course of 2 years ramped up his dysfunctional behaviour. We went from cordial business-like manners to him causing me to have panic attacks if I saw an email or message from him on my phone or laptop. Within the space of over 5 years, I can look back and see that this was nothing to do with me. It was all to do with his mental health. But at the time, when you've gone from being respected in your workplace to being told that you're crap because you didn't do something he didn't tell you to do, then it's hard to see a way out. I've normalised this behaviour within myself, but it still comes as a bit of a shock when I first do it to somebody who I've just met. My boss had a rather strange look on her face when I thanked her. Then, a few days later, she contacted me to ask me for some help. I helped her, she thanked me, and then I asked if I could just ask for a quick clarification if she had a couple of minutes at the end of the call. I asked her 2 questions that for her were a very short answer, but for me gave me desperate direction to go and finish something I was doing. And I turned round, thanked her again and said, as I've said before, I always appreciate you taking the time because this just makes it so much easier when you clarify stuff for me that I can go forward. Which was a simple thank you. But I ended it with saying, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. And she turned around and said with a big smile on her face, and it is with you too. Thank you. So if you think your behaviour doesn't affect other people, Just think how within 2 weeks I've already normalised gratitude from people I deal with, that they expect me to actually verbalise it. Take the flip side and think just how much a bad word can affect people. And now you understand why gratitude's so important. If I had more good things in my emotional savings account, then I would have been able to deal with this person that I had a few years ago, who was constantly being aggressive and expecting things without giving clear direction. I would have had the strength to call out the behaviour, but my savings bank was empty. None of us know what others are going through, but all I can hope is that my small acts of gratitude might be enough to top up someone's emotional savings account so they can get through that bad day or hard time. When your behaviours affect someone's mental state, that they can no longer do the things that they love because they are so disconnected from the world, it's terrible. And people like that should be called out when they behave like that in public. But for the rest of us, just that small act of kindness, that small act of gratitude, can make all the difference to somebody who is running on empty. That's why this year I've been doing these small acts of gratitude. Speak to you soon.